To another exciting edition of the Figure Guys podcast. Each week, we sit down with the world's best figure customizers and figure collectors. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another exciting edition of the Figure Guys. And remember, folks, playing and talking about your wrestling figures has never been this much fun. Welcome into another exciting edition of the Figure Guys podcast. As always, I am David Fine. The man below me, he is not related to Brutus or Mr. Valentine. He is Brutus Valentine, all the way from Australia. The man below, the next to him, from Music City, he is the voice of our generation. And folks, you thought Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, he was the only one who had an apprentice? Nope. We now have an apprentice. Tyler Peters is officially an apprentice. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds cool. And maybe he'll get his own show on the network soon. And of course, the man to my right, I call him he is the head booker of the promotion, if you will, the Great Zash Man. We have a great show tonight. It's one of those shows that, I have a feeling that people are going to be talking about Zash for a long time. But before we get into that, just wanted to announce that coming soon, we're expanding the program. We're expanding into other types of shows because, folks, the man we're talking to tonight, he collects things other than professional wrestling figures. So there are, Masters of the Universe. There's other kinds of figures. We're going to be expanding the network into the Figure Guys Radio Network. Of course, if you would like to be maybe featured, have a show on the podcast, on the network, just email me. You can just email the program. You can email me at thefigureguys@gmail.com, and we'll sit back. We'll talk. We'll have an audition. We'll talk and see what we can do. But Zash, you want to introduce the man of the hour? I will bring him up. And he is an avid collector, and he has all his wrestling figures from when he was a kid. Who in the hell can say that? The only man that can say that's on this panel is this man. Would you like to introduce the main event of the podcast? The reason we are here, the man under me, to the left of Brutus Valentine, Zash.
Joey Bags, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you guys all doing?
Doing well.
Mate, we're fantastic. It's great to have you on the show, mate. You need no introduction, that's for sure.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, mate, I'm going to start off with a question for you, but before I do, it's only tradition that I crack open a beer.
Good Lord, what time is it in Australia? It's like 3 o'clock. Holy crap!
I don't go by Aussie. It's 1 o'clock, but I don't go by Aussie time. I'm going by the US time. We're talking to you boys now.
There you go. Hey, I like that.
Yeah.
Now, Joey Bags, Joseph Palmier, and he hit you straight to the point, mate. I know why you started making customs. You got rorted by some low-life scumbag that you paid custom money for, and he didn't make them and send them to you. Tell us what happened, buddy.
So, and it was probably early February 2018. It was quite a while ago. I came across a group on Facebook called LJM Figures and Customs. And I started seeing the customs that people were doing, and they were all pretty awesome. And two that caught my eye were Dino Bravo and the Barbarian. And there was a guy named Jason Fairfield who was making them at the time. So I'd reached out to him about getting those two made to add them to the collection that I had from when I was a kid, which was all of series 1 through 5. I had collected all of those. I didn't even know about series 6 at the time. We touched base, and I sent them money to make the two of those. And he reached out to me for a couple of ideas, and we talked. And then basically he just disappeared, and I didn't hear from him. I spoke to a couple of the admins in the group at the time, and they said, sometimes he disappears for a little bit at a time, but just to give him time. And, we'd see what happened, but he never came back. And it's weird because his light will still light up sometimes on the messaging app, but I don't think he's never answered me since then. So
it's something that's very unforgivable, mate. It's something that gives a lot of customizers a bad name, but something good came out of it. You started making customs, right?
That's exactly how I started making customs. I started looking at some of the work that people were doing, reached out to a couple of people that were on the page, and I actually don't even remember who they were, but just asked them what they used, how they attached different body parts. And so I started getting milli putt and started messing around with it. And I mean, I love the stuff now, what I can do with it.
Awesome. Tyler, our apprentice, ask some apprentice questions, buddy.
Okay. Hey, Joe, like everyone, it's great to have you on the show. Kind of a follow-up to what Zash was talking about. Did this scammer get kicked out of this group by any chance? Did they ever catch him? I mean, say, hey, here's the boot. Speaking of Hulk Hogan, give him the big boot. There we go. Yeah.
I think he disappeared and never came back. A couple of other people in the group had reached out to him, but they didn't get anything from him either. So he basically just kind of disappeared, I think.
Wow. Very interesting.
And it wasn't a ton of money, and I would have been okay with him just giving my money back and going our separate ways. But I didn't even get that far with the guy. He just really disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, some of these groups, I mean, I have, been a part of a lot of groups, I mean, I think the best, group that I'm a part of is the LJN Customs group, Elite Customs that Zash started. I mean, I think it's probably one of the, if not the best group, on Facebook. There have been a couple of groups that I don't participate a lot because my wife asked me, she's like, you're not a collector, you're not a customizer. Michael Williams he started the beer. That's going to be amazing, Michael. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of groups that I've been on. There was one particular group, I went back and I was deleted. Have you had that happen? I mean, I've heard from a lot of people that there are groups, out on the internet, on the World Wide Web that just, delete people for no reason. I mean, has that happened to you?
Well, I mean, I really enjoyed the LJN Figure and Customs because there's a lot of customizers in there, and there are a lot of collectors, which was nice. Zash, I think that's where I met you, was in there. I don't even know if you remember this, but a few years ago, I made you a demolition. Legion of Doom and sent it to you down in Australia.
I actually mentioned that on our last podcast. So catch up, buddy. You got to watch our last podcast. So I was part of that group, and I was actually part of about 6 or 7 different groups that were based around the LJN wrestlers, and so they all had different rules. And a couple times I had posted pictures. So like my Joey Bags page, when I don't know, Yash, you have a couple of different, you have your personal and your page. So sometimes it's hard to realize which one you're interacting as. And the first time I had actually accidentally posted to LJN Figures and Customs from my Joey Bags page. And without any notice or anything, the next time I went to go to the page, I had just been deleted. I had no idea what had happened because I didn't even realize I had done that. So I had spoke to Michael Weems because he's a good buddy of mine, and me and Michael have been sharing tips and tricks since the very beginning on customizing, and I spent so many nights speaking to Weems really late at night, going back and forth about ideas that we had when I was starting out. But he had talked to them and he got me back in. Well, then then about 6 months later, I had done a bunch of posts and they were fine. But then another second time I posted, and there was somewhere in the background it said Joey Bags,
And I didn't even realize it at the time. And I went to go to LJN Figures and Customs, and it had been deleted again. And I was like, come on, what is going on? Because they didn't communicate anything. I was just off their page. So I spoke to Weems one more time, and he got me back in. And then it happened a third time. And the part that was really annoying is I had checked with Michael Weems and was like, is this post going to be a problem? He was like, no, don't worry about it. And so I made a post, and I got deleted for a third time. I said, you know what? LJN for life was up and running at that time, and I said, I don't even want to be part of that group much anymore. I said, I'm going to go with them. And then luckily Zash came up with his, and both great groups. And for LJN, I just don't think there's anywhere else I really need to be other than those two places, because I think we have the best collectors in those two groups. I think we have the best customizers in those two groups. And, besides that, I pretty much haven't had a single problem with anyone or any of my customers. I would say 90% of the customers I have are returning customers for 5, 6, 7, 8, figures. And I get along with all the guys. It's been great.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a lot of research. I look at all of your Joey Bags page. I mean, you have so many amazing figures. I mean, the one that blows my mind, and I want to ask who you used to do it, were the Von Erichs. I saw that recently. Who did you use to mold those? Was it Kevin and Carrie, or I'm not sure which Von Erich it was?
It was Kevin and Carrie, and the person who ordered them, the most recent ones. Well, they've only in the WCW or WWC, so for Carrie Von Erich, it's a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat body. I switched the hands up. I can't remember who the hands are that I switched. I switched one of his hands anyway. And then, I mean, it's perfect, but I use Tito Santana, cut the bottom of his legs off and insert Jimmy Snooker feet. And, that gives you Kevin. But I don't even have those in my own collection. It's so crazy because I do so many that I still haven't even been able to do for myself yet. But I don't have the Steiners for myself. I don't have the Von Erichs. Most of my tag teams are right behind me. But yeah, so I don't have those ones yet.
Yeah,
I mean,
Joe, yep. So a lot of the characters you're doing would probably classify them as old school and outside the WWF as well. Do you have a particular liking for, WC? I forget now, what was it? World Class Champ, WCCW, the end affiliates and Mid South and UWF, those sorts of places.
I enjoy making those figures. I watched a little bit of that on TBS in the late mid 80s. But it's cool because, Warsman does those heads, all those old school World Championship Wrestling heads. And so it's nice because I've done the Moondogs, and I've done Abdul the Butcher, and I've done Bruiser Brody and the Von Erichs. I did the Midnight Express.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy doing the figures that, I don't have in my collection, and I don't have any of those yet.
Yeah. You're always working to demand and getting it out for your client.
Yes, exactly.
Another one that I had never seen before, the Wild Samoans. I mean, all your work is amazing. You have, folks, if you just, haven't seen his Facebook page, go to his Facebook page. It'll be on the show note links on this and the audio version. I mean, who did you use for the Wild Samoans? I mean, those are amazing.
The Wild Samoans are probably some of my hardest, best work that I've done. And it's because both heads I used Captain Lou Albano. But what I did was I basically shaved down his face using a Dremel, and then I redid it with Milliput. And one of the faces I make round, and the other face I make longer and skinnier, just like the actual wrestlers. I sand down all the hair, and then I do Millie put out of hair. But then I use Junkyard Dog's upper body into the knees, and then I have Jimmy Snuka legs on them. But that's the most fun to me, is when I'm like really customizing the faces of an LJN that is the base of the face.
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing. I mean, Tyler, I know you're as the apprentice, even as not as the apprentice, you've done a lot of research. I mean, you've scoured through his page. I mean, is there any figures that you saw that you were saying like, holy crap, that they did make an LJN of, this person or that person?
Yeah, I think you covered it with the Von Erichs. I mean, for example, because, Brutus had brought this up in an episode before when Michael Weems was on, that we're missing a lot of those territory kind of figurines, LJNs, and that's
figurines.
Figures. I can't help it. Hey, listen, I'm learning, man. I'm new. You can tell. He called me the apprentice. Hey, I'll give you gaffes. I'll give you bloopers. I'll do a comedy show. Who knows? But there you go. You need to laugh. Let me do that. Go.
I love your style, Tyler. I love it. Don't change for anyone, buddy.
Yeah. Tyler, let me tell you this. I have a friend who will text me all the time, and she'll say, how are you doing with your dolls today? How are your dolls coming out?
Oh. And the funny thing is, you say dolls. Tyler says figurines. My wife calls the wrestling figurines. And Zosh, your buddy on YouTube, the big guy who had who was he trying to, a 1, 2, 3 kid? He said, I'm customizing wrestling figurine. I'm like, holy shit! They're not figurines. They're not dolls.
Did you
they're wrestling figures.
Did you notice he said, "I'll never make a ring announcer"?
No,
that's funny. It was Latin for figure.
He's a good man. He's a good man. He's got a great channel. So I'm sure we share it around enough. Everyone knows about it.
All I have to say to wives listening and watching, if their husband collects wrestling figurines, hey, they could be doing worse things. There are worse things than men playing with dolls. I mean, I want to ask you, Joe, this LJN skyrocketing price. I mean, I've asked Michael Weems, I've asked everybody, why do you think they're going up so fast? I mean, I just saw someone on LJN for Life, a great page, but they were trying to sell, it was an Axe or a Demolition, men on card for like $550. I mean, are people just buying them because they think they're going to go up in value?
I swear to God, I know the answer to this question because I saw it happen. I was actually lucky because I had bought I bought my Series 6 shortly, probably 2019, and Weems, and I paid about $225 to $250 for Mint, Boss Man, Mint, Haku, Warrior, and Warlord. And I swear to God, the prices, stayed about the same until the first stimulus check came out. And I'm not joking. I'm not being a jerk, but I'm dead serious. When that first stimulus check came out, everyone started putting these ridiculous prices on the LJNs, and it's continued. Every stimulus check, the prices go up because people have the money to spend. And it seems silly, but it's exactly what it is. I right in that January 2000 or July 2020, those prices skyrocketed.
Don't worry, you've still got a fair way to go before you catch us in Australia, Joey. Don't worry, mate. We're well ahead of you, buddy.
I know. I don't know. You guys have it rough.
And it seems Michael Weems, I'm not sure if he's joking. He said, I paid $600 for my Axemen on card.
So, right, I reckon.
Yeah, I guess that's a good price. $550 Axemen on card is, depending on the quality of the card, even an ordinary card, you're doing very well there, I would suggest.
I don't know. I mean, if I spent $550 on a wrestling figurine, someone would probably be sleeping in their office, and it would not be my wife. It would be me, but that's okay. I mean, we all have our
David,
think
don't worry, mate. Don't worry. The customizing life is the life of expenses, mate. It's not the collectors. These guys who are collecting figures, they may pay a lot of money for a figure, but I'll be going down to Barnes tomorrow, and
whoa. I guess they're a sponsor now.
I'll be spending $1,500 at Barnes just buying silicon and resin. And a lot of people think, it doesn't cost much to make a figure because it's a clone of something. Well, guess what? It costs a hell of a lot of money to make clones. It's not cheap. And then if you make a mistake, then it all ends up in the bin. And
that's just the spending on your bondage dungeon, let alone your customs.
Mate, I told you you're invited anytime, Brutus.
Okay.
And yeah, you know what other people don't understand? I had one unhappy customer, and I asked for a $30 deposit on a figure, and I made it for him. But at some time between the time I started and the time I finished, he decided he didn't want it anymore, so he asked for his deposit back. And I said, you know what? It was $30, and I'm not actually going to give it back because I went through and made this figure for you. I have a son who at the time, over the last 3 years, was between 6 and 9 years old. I'm taking time away from my son and my family to, make a figure. Like that's all goes into what we do and time that we're spending on these figures to have people make an order and then be like, actually, no, I don't want it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, if I ordered a custom figure, I would, like you said, it takes you away from your family, or even if you don't have a family and you're single, it takes you away from other things. You're spending your heart. These people don't know that you have to spend. Yeah, you get paid, but most likely you're going to get paid later on after the person gets it or close to it, I would assume. And you have to go on your own time, get all the stuff that you have to make it with, all the equipment or whatever.
The thing is, yes, we enjoy making customs. We do it because we enjoy it. But once you start getting all these orders, it does become like a chore, a job. You feel the pressure. I've got to make this book for this person. I've got to get it done, or otherwise they'll be waiting too long. So it becomes like you're trying to get it done. You're working on it so many hours that it becomes like you have to do it. So we'd all rather just make customs in our own time, but it doesn't happen like that. I'm up till 11, 12 o'clock at night making customs some nights, just thinking I'd love to go to bed, but I've got to get this part done, or otherwise I can't take the next step the next day, and they're going to be waiting longer. And I'm very slow at customs. People think I whip out a lot of customs because I'm quick. Well, I'm not. I just put in a lot of hours into them, and I get on a roll with them, and that's how I produce quite a lot of customs, because I do put in the hard work with them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and with creative pursuits across many areas, and there's lots of guys on the different forums who are involved in many different things. It's the thousands and thousands of hours of work to get up to a certain skill level that people don't see too much of. And in my case, it's the research work, and then that's all hidden, and so it should be too. It's a labor of love, and you customize. I've been posting, and I'm not overly engaged online, but 2021 is absolutely the year of the custom. So, and just seeing the progression in the work, the style, old school guys, new school guys putting parts together, guys just working with just LJNs. It's all great, and it's all valid. And these new characters and different poses. It's really fantastic, and guys are getting better.
Yeah, it's one of those things that when Brutus was just saying it's the year of the custom, coronavirus is a terrible thing. You killed a lot of people, and it's made people stay home and lock down. But for the custom world, people who collect customs and collect wrestling, figures, they get that extra stimulus money. It does help. Have you seen a little bit of increase, Joe, and people, like you said, do you think it's gonna kind of peter out and end whenever they finish? If they come out with another stimulus check, do you think you'll get more people trying to buy more customs?
I think that's absolutely possible.
Can I just say something? It's not about the money. You can't make money off customs. I'm putting $60 worth of stuff into a custom that I'm selling for $120 that I put 30 hours into. You try and make money off a 30-hour week of $60 profit. You're making it because you want someone to own one of your pieces of art and appreciate it and have it on display. And that's the only reason why I make customs for other people. It's not the money at all, because I'm pretty much breaking even off all the work. It's all it's doing is saying that person's got something of mine that I made and I'm proud of it, and it's somewhere else in the world, so, and someone appreciates it.
That's exactly right. I mean, when I get done with a custom, I know how happy I get about it, and my goal is, to send those off to the person, they get that same satisfaction, because he's absolutely right. It's not about the money. I mean, if someone's selling a custom for $120, $130, they're not making any money. They are not making money or getting, they're not paying bills with that money. I can tell you.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like Zash, you said your father's a painter or an artist. I mean, he does works of art. That's what the customs are. I mean, you want them to like Joe's his man cave. I mean, he's got those things on display and he's proud of it. And and Zash, you also have it as well. These customs, you want people to see the work that you did, and with this community of collectors and customizers, I mean, you can reach a more worldwide audience than you ever could before.
And gosh, I don't know if you feel this way, but I mean, it's just awesome. Like when you look at your customs, I look at my customs, and no, man, if you put 5 of your customs mixed in with 5 of the regular figures, if people didn't know what the LJN collection was, they would not be able to pick out which one were original and which ones we did. And that's what's awesome about it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I was wondering what Tyler's take on this is, and seeing it from his point of view about, the customs and how they compare to the originals. And
yeah, I mean, I'm hearing what you guys are saying, and it gives me a whole new respect for you guys not making that much money off these customs. So yeah, my perspective would be this. I mean, somebody that's new, that's kind of learning, just being honest, transparent here. I mean, have you ever got any kind of feedback from an actual wrestler or anybody that's in the LJN world? I mean, that's something that I always was curious. I mean, did somebody, or maybe a super fan, that said, hey, this looks just like that superstar? That's, that brought back some nostalgia for me, because that's what's great about this podcast. It feeds into the old school wrestling that we all grew up and loved. And that's something that I take away, that for me, you guys are doing me a service, even though I may have not had LJNs. I had toys. Now, I didn't call them figurines. I don't know where that came from. It's a t-shirt. It's a t-shirt. Let's do it. Buy some gimmicks, Bruce Pritchard. There we go. But no, go ahead.
Tyler.
That's a great question, Tyler. Yeah.
So I did this custom. I don't know if you guys can tell who this is. Oops, sorry.
Was that Gino Hernandez?
No, it is Leaping Lenny Poffo.
Oh, Poffo. Okay.
The genius, the world's smartest man.
Where's the Beverly Brothers? Yeah.
He reached out to me. He saw that one of his buddies is in one of our groups, and sent him a picture. So he reached out to me on Facebook and was like, I wish I was still collecting figures, because I can tell you that's the best Leaping Lenny Poffo that I've seen so far. And it's just a Rick Martel with a mustache, but with his little frisbee in his hand that he used to toss out.
So, Joe, do you remember? Sorry. Yeah. Do you remember when he started doing the poems and he had them rolled up as little scrolls?
Yeah.
And he's trying to climb out, and they'll just go just into the audience, because the Jobbers were very popular down here in Australia, and Leaping Lenny, because he always put up such a good show, was very popular. And then the Frisbees came out. That is a winner. That's book 3, that one. That's the Jobber book. But great to see, because I've seen a lot of the customizers, the G's or the Genii, and they're fantastic too. And it's great to see Leaping Lenny with his Frisbee. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
That's a great point, Brutus. And hey, speaking of the Savages, the brothers, didn't you do one about where Macho Man back in his baseball career? Was that
Yes.
the one you did? That's one I remember now. It just took. I'm a little slow in Tennessee, as you can imagine.
He is right there.
I think one of the best ones I saw that you sent to me was a man who was on the show last week, Mexican Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
I mean, that was I'm not sure if your mom stole an LJN and put it in her bosom like the great Mexican Burt Reynolds' mom did. But man, I love that custom. And who did you say that was?
That was a B. Brian Blair.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But,
yeah.
I put jeans on him and put a Dodgers Dodgers jersey on him. So I mean, it didn't just the face looked like B. Brian Blair. I mean, but how much he resembles the Mexican Burt Reynolds is pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, folks, I mean, you need to get this book. I mean, Brutus, are you running any promos for either our fans watching in your homeland of Australia or over here on the United States stateside?
Yep. Same as last week. If someone wants to purchase one, just when you buy, just let me know, and then I can take 10% off the purchase price. I went to the storage unit. I've got just under, I think, 9 boxes left, and I've got 1 box here. So down to the last 100. Really would like to clear them, because what that means is I could go into a second print, and wrestling books become part of my annual writing and publishing catalog. So that means, that would be really good to do that. And in the book, of course, I think if I try and get it up close down there, it's not going to look too good. But Joe, you might recognize one of the works, one of the customs there. Second from the left.
I can't. For some reason, I can't see who it is.
No, that's Hoss Funk. One of yours. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and I love this comment from Facebook user. It says, I have 14 customs from Joe, and I have 6 on the way from Zosh. These customs have allowed me to add different wrestlers that haven't been made before, or add different versions of existing LJNs. They are both awesome at what they do. So thank you, Facebook user.
Thank you. I can't see whose name that is unless I go into it.
Yeah, for some reason, sometimes if folks, just a word of advice, if you watch this on Facebook live, you have to click on the StreamYard, accept it, and then they will show your face and your name on Facebook, so we can give you some shout out. I'm gonna do some research and see who that was, and we'll give them definitely give them a shout out. But yeah, I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I mean, it ever since I started doing this podcast, I didn't know, like the Facebook user said, that I did not know that these other LJNs, existed. I mean, it was, I mean, they're amazing. But Zosh, you had a question.
Oh man, put on the spot. What did I have? Okay, I'll make up something on the spot for you.
Hey, we know what we can talk about right now. Custom Mania, because we have some exciting sponsors, and one of those sponsors is on the program tonight. He's amazing. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, cool. Joey Bags is our sponsor. Yeah, he's I have to point the opposite side down there. That guy down there. He's he supplied the first, second, and third prize-winning trophies for the Custom Mania competition. They're huge bloody trophies. He's gone above and beyond. I thought he was going to get these little trophies for everyone, but look, he's giving you guys something to really aim for. So spend a bit of extra time on these customs. Give them your best shot. They don't have to be amazing. They don't have to be the best in the world, but make them the best you can do. Three figures, and you never know your luck. You know what? You might be someone that is not expected to win, and you might win. It's going to be anyone's competition. So do your best 3 figures. I'm sure a lot of people out there are confused with how you have to do 3 figures in these 3 rounds and all this kind of business. It is confusing, but basically these 3 rounds, you got 1 figure for each round. You get scored from each round, and all 3 rounds are added up and at the end there's a total, and the person with the most points win. So you might go really bad in the first round, and someone might go really good, but it doesn't mean they're going to win. So you got 3 figures. So what this basically does is says anyone can luck out and make 1 good figure. We need you to make 3 good figures. So it shows consistency. It shows that you can do more than just 1 figure, 1 type of figure. Someone might be really good at Hulk Hogan, or I know there's someone out there that's really good at Elizabeth. Michael Wentz.
Yeah, we all know that.
But you've got to make 3 different figures. So that's what the beauty of this competition is. So
Yeah, I mean it's going to be amazing. I mean I'm looking forward to it. It's over a couple of weeks in July. We're going to be having some more information and some more details on. So we're going to have podcasts associated with it. Each and every Monday, either before or after this show. And I mean it's going to be amazing. I mean, I want to ask Joe another question. Tully and Arn. I loved your Tully and Arn. I mean, that of course was the Brainbusters version, correct?
Yes, sir.
Who did you use to make that?
So for Arn Anderson, it is a full Don Morocco, and Tully is a Don Morocco legs and Valentine upper body.
Yep.
And
That's
you know
nice.
what? Like I didn't even know. Like when I first started doing customs, I probably was doing repaints, and I was spending a lot of time customizing the faces of certain LJNs, and then a whole world was opened up when Joe Gador came out with his custom heads, and me and Joe spent a lot of nights talking, chatting online, and him giving me tips and tricks. And once I saw some of those heads he does, I mean, those Brainbusters are ridiculous. Probably my 2 favorite heads that I've gotten out of all the heads I've gotten from Joe. I mean, all of his heads are absolutely amazing.
Joey, if Joe Gador is giving you tips, he's very close to his heart with these secrets, mate. How much will it cost for me to get these tips out of you that Joe gave?
No, I know. I just got lucky. I mean, maybe it's because we're both Joes. I don't know. But we've hit it off pretty good, and yeah, he's helped me a bunch, man. He really has.
He is a very nice guy, Joe Gador, and I can tell you, he shared a few handy things with me as well. So he's very helpful, and he's a very nice guy, and certainly one of the best in the business. So
he is definitely
we're
the
very
best.
lucky. We're very lucky to have him.
So,
Absolutely.
Joe, can I ask? Oh, excuse me, because I like to find this out, and this is on behalf of me and Tyler and David, who have no skill in this area. How did you know that you could do this? I mean, were you artistic as a kid? Did you like painting or drawing or doing anything? Where'd the skill come from?
My wife asks me that too, because I don't have an artistic part of my body. I'm not artistic at all.
You are now.
I mean, I just put, because I love the toys as a kid. I just feel like I put my heart into each one that I do, and I take my time. And the painting isn't easy. You're hand painting all of these, but I just take my time and just try to make it look as good as I can.
Well, you're doing pretty well. I mean, you might be being a bit modest there, but that's okay. The question is for you to answer however you like, but not even back in grade school, some pictures or no.
Honestly, there's no artistic ability whatsoever.
And that shows guys out there. Look, you can pick up new skills at any stage of your life.
It's
and
true.
that's the thing. I mean, it's eye-hand coordination. It's looking at things, looking what other guys do, and that's a big part of Custom Mania is seeing what other guys do and thinking, gee, that's a new take on something I haven't thought about. Looking at Gador's heads and saying, oh, I can't do that, right? But maybe I can work towards doing that. So there's really no impediment for people to have a go, because you might as well. And if they're crap, well, you have to post them online. But We
Yeah,
only get better by getting rid of the other stuff first, and then
But
that's how
there
we
is no
progress.
crap, really, is there? There is no crap. It's something that someone's done from their heart, and you don't
Mine
have to
would be
feel
crap.
like. No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. You would do a great job. In fact, I'm interested to see you do a repaint on something I sent you a little while ago. So I reckon you're going to do a great job.
Yeah, I
know,
haven't opened the box. What's this bloody? You got another box here. What's this doing here? Right? Haven't you got enough already? So yeah,
We believe in
Blame
you,
me.
Brutus.
yeah.
Oh, man, I mean, it's definitely going to be. I mean, it's definitely going to be. It's definitely going to be an epic show. An epic event. I mean, let alone. I mean, the 3 trophies. I mean, that's. I mean, we have other other stuff that we're going to give to the winners, but those trophies. I mean, Joe. I mean, I was when Zosh showed me those, I was like, holy moly, those things are amazing. So, and I just want to thank you, at least for me and everyone that, thank you for putting those into the prize area.
Absolutely, man. It's such an awesome event. I'm glad to be a part of it as a customizer. I'm glad to, do what I can towards it. And, I don't have a ton of time to spend online, but I think what you guys are doing is awesome.
And also, we'll give a bit of a wrap also to LJN for Life, who put in some money towards the prize money and everything like that as well. So they're another one of our sponsors. As you guys know, that we were going to have a belt as the first prize, but unfortunately, those guys backed out without saying, and they really put us in a bad situation. So I certainly won't be plugging their company anymore. But thankfully, Joey came to the rescue and bought the trophies for the competition. And yeah, as I say, LJN for Life also put in some coin into the kitty. So it all helps for you guys to get something at the end. I know it's not all about the prizes and stuff. It's about the enjoyment of being in a competition and stuff. But hey, we've got some prizes for you anyway. So it's a little bit more than bragging rights.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, like you said, it's more than just prizes. I mean, it's about building a community. I mean, you see people that do stuff, and then you message them on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and then you kind of build this relationship a community. Which I mean, there are of course people in every kind of community that you shouldn't trust, but there are so many people that I've met, through doing the podcast and just browsing some of the message boards and the Facebook pages. I mean, it's a great way to build the community, and it's just, I mean, with everything going on in the world right now, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's getting better. I mean, I'm getting my second COVID shot on Friday, so I'll be vaccinated, and everybody's, around here is getting vaccinated, because everybody in the state of Georgia, if you're over 16, you're eligible to get it. I'm not sure, Joe, where you live, if that's a thing, and Tyler and yourself in Tennessee, but it's just like this. I think that this contest, other than building a community, will just be a distraction for people. It'll get them to be creative and just have a good time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we need more distractions. I mean, for sure.
Yeah,
did you guys just see what our mate Warren Warsman just wrote in the comments?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
I saw that.
Thanks, Warren. Appreciate that, mate. I know you're very busy with what you do. You make a lot of heads, so mate, that's fantastic. No one really does 3D printing heads like Warren, and also a few of the other guys do some great heads. But yeah, appreciate that, Warren.
Yeah, and speaking of 3D heads, when is yours going to be? When is yours going to be in your hands in Australia?
Yeah, Tom Veg did a head of me. A lot of you guys would have probably have seen it. It looks identical to me. It's so good looking. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely spot on. So now the mission is I've got to paint it right. So I've got a Mattel version, and I've got an LJN version.
Oh, nice.
That he sent to me, because I do want to do a few Mattel customs as well. I can hear the booze in the background. Be quiet, everyone. Mattel's good too. But you know what? I do like to. I want to get a bit more into the detail side of things. I do want to get a bit more into the shadings and stuff like that. So a lot of the LJN guys aren't really into the shading and all that kind of thing. But it's something that I want to challenge myself with.
I was just watching shading videos last night.
Were you really? Yeah. Yeah, it looks a lot of fun, and I have been doing it lately on a few of them, and I want to get better at that. I want to do some spotting and do some imperfections in the face rather than making the faces so perfect all the time. Faces aren't perfect. You look at your face in the mirror, and it's far from perfect. It's got spots, it's got blemishes. But look, LJN wasn't about that, was it? LJN was about just one skin color all over, and that was it. But it's just something I want to diverge into a little bit and play around with.
I mean, Zas, have you done any recently done any more of the, I guess I would call them glow in the dark, like you had the one man gang, those versions of the LJNs. Have you done any recently?
Yeah. Oh, look, I've got a ton of things to do. I'm daunted by it. I really am. I've got a bunch of customs that, because what I've started doing is I make custom, and then some people go, I want one of them, I want one. And I can't be bothered making the same custom over and over and over again. I know you do a lot of that, Joey, because you make a lot of customs that are the same because you've got your very popular customs. But I don't want to make them all from scratch. So I'm thinking I'll just cast a mold of them, mold it and cast figures of them. And then all I have to do is paint them, you see. So
that's the way to go.
Yeah, but it will cost me about $150 to mold a figure in silicon alone. So, and if I get that wrong, that's going straight into the bin. So I've got to get it right when I mold a figure. But then spending $150 on that, you know, I've got to then, it's going to cost me rubber when I cast it or resin and so on like that. But I've got that figure instantly every time I want it. I don't have to go around looking, I need another Hulk Hogan, I need another this, to cut them up and do this and do that. I can just cast it out. I've got it there. I don't have to worry about it. So if I know I'm going to sell quite a few of them, I'll do that. I'll mold a figure. Yeah, sorry, Joe.
When you mold a figure, will that mold only last about 10 to 15?
Yeah, no. Well,
figures?
I easily get 20 out of them as long as I won't mold anything that isn't going to last, in the sense of if it's got rough boots or it's got something that's going to drag along the mold when I pull it out, or if it's got something that's just not, it's just going to catch and not work, you know, I won't mold it because it's just not worth it. I'll get 5 out of it before it's torn up and ripped up. But if you're gentle with it, then you should get at least 20 out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Weems he's really watching us tonight. He says, I quit doing orders to get back to the love it becomes work. Now I work for me again, for now anyway. So
totally understandable. Understandable. It does become work. It becomes daunting. And you do one custom for someone, and which is fair enough. They live in America. I live in Australia. They're like, well, it's no use sending one. Let's do 2. Let's do 3. Let's do 4. And then you know, you end up having like 10 or 15 customs, which is fine as well, because you know, it makes it worth your while. But also, you think, I've got about 50 customs that I've made that aren't painted. At least 50 that I've fully made up, but haven't had a chance to paint them. Because when I paint a figure, I spend so long painting it. It's just downright ridiculous. I spent last night 3 hours on someone's eyes. Wow. Just 2 eyes, 3 hours. And I can show you them eyes and you'll look at them and go, wow, but who's going to spend 3 hours on eyes?
Yeah, no.
Sash man will. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those hobbies, you know, things you like to do that I've seen a lot of people do rush jobs and they all look great, but to make it LJN quality, I mean, it takes, you know, Zash, it takes a long time. You can't just rush into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does take a long time. In fact, I'm going to show you the eyes I spent 3 hours on so you can say what a waste of time. Hold on a second.
Okay. I cannot wait to see.
I was going to put a clear coat of shiny whatever over it, just to make them a bit more glossy. But I don't know whether you can even see them. But it actually
Oh, okay.
so you've got lights, you've got greens, you've got lots of different colors in the eyes. In a good light, they actually look pretty good. But he's going to be having sunglasses as well. So doesn't that just defeat the purpose of me spending 3 hours when I'm getting Retro Revolution to make me some 3D printed glasses to stick over the top and hide his eyes? I'm an idiot. End of story.
Yeah.
Hey, what's wrong with Brutus? We can't hear him. Brutus,
Yeah,
you're talking, but we can't hear you, buddy. What's going on?
I noticed that. Yeah.
Oh, it's the best I've heard him sound ever.
Just no audio. No.
Well, while Brutus plugs himself back in, from a Facebook user says, molded different bodies is an untapped market. I would love to see someone start. Take my money. I don't know who this is on this Facebook user because they're not showing up because they didn't click on the StreamYard. But I mean, if someone wanted you to, if someone wanted you to do that and you got a big market, you would start doing it, Zosh?
I'm just laughing at Brutus. He's still
I
trying
think
to talk.
he's distracted by Bruce. Bless his heart, he's trying, man. He's talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. we can hear you.
That comment was
He's
from Tom
there.
Ward. David, can you get these clowns in line, please, sir? That comment was from Tom Ward because I'm following the LG for like great.
Yeah,
Tom Ward said it's an untapped market.
yes.
Would somebody take my money? I'll take your money, Tom. No worries. We'll start off with that part.
I'm just glad. I'm just glad.
Some of his figures? Is that what he's saying? He wants his figures molded, or?
I don't know. I'm just glad that we can hear Brutus again.
I kind of like the way he was miming on it. He looked like he was quite stressed out too. He had something very important to say. Now he's forgotten it, I'm sure.
It adds a great dimension. Very entertaining.
It really works good in the audio only version. It's just like, huh. But see, modern technology, folks. I mean, I would love to. Do you have anybody that you're going to do? I mean, off the top of your head, or are you just did those couple ones of the molds and the ones that you showed online, the LJNs? Are you trying to do any more? Or do you think you're just going to kind of put it off until someone actually wants it?
Who, me? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to mold Paul Ellering. He's got a honky tonk right arm with the thumb up, and as you can see when you Google him, he's got his thumb up a lot of the time with his newspaper in one hand and thumb up in the other. So I thought that was fitting. People don't realize what went into this. This was a Vince McMahon who had his arm actually attached to his body with a microphone. So I had to detach that, remold the suit and everything like that. So it's a little bit trickier than you'd think, but I'm going to be molding him.
But right there, that custom you just made, that custom right there that you made is about $200. Right?
Yeah.
Between Vince McMahon, Honky Tonk, and then the head, is that a Warsman head?
Mate, that is a Warsman head. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But he is a resin figure. So
that one is
a rock. And you know what? A lot of people don't like resin figures, but I absolutely love resin. I'm a big fan of resin. If all my collection was I used to hate resin. But you know what? You paint rubber, you bend the arm a little bit here or there, or it sits there, it cracks, the putty can chip off. They're not going to last a long time. Resin, they'll last forever, you know what I mean? Until like it drops and breaks on the ground, literally. But you know what? You do a custom out of resin and you take it out. If it's got some imperfections, you sand it down, put a bit of putty on it, sand it down again, and it's come up like new, you know. With rubber, if you pull it out of the mold and it's got some imperfections, some bubbles or whatever, you try puttying up there, and yes, it works, but then it's got some hard spots, and if you bend it, if it's a big chunk, the putty's going to fall out because it doesn't really stick to rubber, and rubber's bending, putty's not, you know, all these things. Oh, man. No one knows when they're just looking at it whether it's rubber or resin. Give me resin.
No, looking at it.
Rubber resin.
I'm exhausting myself, David. I know I'm exhausting you. Sorry, mate.
No, it's
Oh, no.
interesting. I think it's good. Yeah.
See, this is why this show has kind of gained a lot of strength and a lot of it's got a lot of people talking about it because we come on here, we get great guests like Joey. We got great co-hosts like Zosh. We got the great expert like Brutus Valentine, and we got the apprentice Tyler Peters. And we're so passionate about it. I mean, people love to do stuff that they're passionate about.
No,
For
you're right.
sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Paint cracking on a couple of clones I have from James Honeycutt. Why do you think that would be?
Well, we're using. Sorry, I know you're the guest, Joey. You answer it. So I've been a hog here, Joey.
No,
the guest. Go, buddy. You answer this.
I mean, you've already said it. If it's rubber and you're moving around, and most customizers are using the acrylic paints that you get at hobby stores, and you're putting a clear coat on them, and when they're moving like that, it's going to happen. You're moving the limbs or bending the legs or the arms. They're going to crack.
I've got something that I picked up from Barnes. It's a new product they've got. Is for paint for acrylic, but it's meant for something else, but it works for paint. And I did it on my bendy figure, and it works.
Oh yeah, I
saw that. 1 second.
I cannot wait to see what he. Oh,
now if I bend this and it all cracks, I'm going to look like a real dick. But anyway, and it's cracked. You know what? This has got a limited life. This bendy stuff. But it works there. Look at that.
That's nice.
I think this is testament to the quality of the original production. I mean, when we get out of ends, big hunts, we just call them rubber, but it's a type of PVC. I can't remember the exact type. The industrial paint on it that doesn't crack, all the whacking that the figures got, and years later they still stand up to it. So it's an amazing process that was used for manufacturing back then, and you can't emulate it unless you're working on a huge scale, and probably the cost now is so prohibitive anyway to do so.
I believe it's some kind of marine paint, from what I can research, because marine paint is a very, very tough paint, and it can have flexiness to it. So my belief is it's some kind of marine paint.
Okay. Does that dry fairly quickly, marine paint? Do you know, or?
Well, I imagine it would dry the same as like a normal 2-pack car paint or something, but it's just really tough.
Because they didn't wait for each component in the spray in layers using masks. They didn't wait for like the eyeballs to dry before they put the white on it. So, I mean, the figures were literally thrown into hoppers to go to the next person to do the next paint mask. So it must be an amazing drying mechanism. It's so that you don't get runs or anything like that, because you get them painted outside the masks. You can see sometimes when there's a bit of bleed, but you don't see runs. So
I always imagine it as like a kind of like a stamp, like the paint is like stamped on somehow, because you're right. There's no marks on them whatsoever.
Yeah, the decals.
Well, how did they do the writing and stuff? They were decals, were they?
Which one? The writing. The writings and the tattoos and things, they would have been stamped on as a decal. The paint, I've always assumed by looking at other Chinese factory videos that they were just using the spray masks in front of the paint. But the stamping could have happened, and the stamping could dry much faster too, because if it's being pressed in 2 parts, the heat would actually do some drying. So,
and were they hand masked?
Well, I don't know. From about 1985, the first production when they were producing in 84 into 85, that was in Hong Kong. I'm assuming they would have been hand masks. When they went off to China, definitely, because the labor cost them was so low that they just would have had people doing different parts, different jobs based on the color of the paint. I did reach out to a Hong Kong, LJN Hong Kong production manager fairly early in the book, but he never got back to me. But maybe I'll have more luck now that something real already exists to find out more of that sort of stuff into the future, because the US guys I spoke to didn't know about the manufacturing process apart from what they knew about manufacturing. So
it'd be interesting to know what paint they use, that's for sure.
Yeah,
it would be a real game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, we should. We'll get Brutus to. He's our investigative reporter now on the show.
Yes.
He's gonna dig into the Chinese
engineer,
market.
A chemical engineer might be able to strip some paint off and run a bit of an analysis on it. So if we've got any watching, and we've got guys from all sorts of vocations and occupations, you never know. You could help Zash out, and he could sleep better at night.
Yeah. Just email me at thefigureguys@gmail.com, and I'll forward that over to Zash. Because I mean, I know he's losing a lot of sleep on that. I mean, I know I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight because I'm gonna be thinking about that. But I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, Tyler, you got any more? I know you look like you're chomping at the bit to jump back into the figure ring and the figure ring and ask a comment or ask a question.
You mean the Mandals? No, excuse me. No, of course. But no, the question I wanted to ask, I know this goes back to the whole LJNs, and I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to start cracking up. But it's like with Hogan and Andre, have you guys ever done those in like a combo before? I mean, have you seen them? Because, the reason I bring that up is because as an old school wrestling fan, as we all are, this is the 34th anniversary of when Hogan and Andre were at WrestleMania 3. So that's why I kind of wanted to throw that question and some of the figure. Now, here I go again. I mean figures. I wanted to say it again. See, you got me. That's going to be the inside joke.
Figurines, don't worry, Tyler. They're technically figurines, buddy.
I mean, I haven't myself, but like especially the anniversary of WrestleMania 3. That's an excellent idea of Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Andre the Giant. And I think, Josh, you've done an awesome Andre, right?
I did an Andre, but I've seen better ones since mine, which makes me want to do another Andre.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm kind of glad that sometimes they do wrestlers, people do customs after specific wrestlers, like WrestleMania event, like a Hulk Hogan, whatever he was wearing. I am kind of glad that people did not do a custom of the Roddy Piper Bad News Brown match, because I'm not sure if in Australia they've taken it off, because I think in Australia you're still going to get the WWE Network, the standalone. But I just wanted to ask Joe and to Tyler. This has nothing to do with wrestling figures, but it's history, and talking about history. Do you think the stuff that they're taking down, they should take down on the new Peacock network?
I'll let Joe go ahead since he's a guest. I'll let
it. I'm so neutral about that kind of stuff, man, and I see everyone's point of view. Basically, people can say a lot of different stuff and I don't get offended. I understand when things are said that are wrong, and but I just have a hard time judging anybody by what they've done, what people thought was okay in the past, what people are going to think is okay 20 years from now. I think people were doing the best that they could 20 years ago, 30 years ago with the information they had. I just don't hold stuff like that against people from that long ago, because I really feel like people didn't know what they were doing was wrong, or how we look at it now and reflect on it. It's always easy to reflect 20, 30 years later.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to one comment, then I'll let Tyler get his take. If someone came up to you and said, Joey, I want you to create a controversial LJN, from say the blackface that Roddy Piper had on in the Bad News Brown match, would that be something that you would feel comfortable doing, or does that not even come into a factor? If someone did won a controversial wrestling figure of something in the past, would you feel okay doing it, or is it just they're just wrestling figures? It's not a big deal.
I don't know how you guys feel, but if someone asked me for that, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, the only reason I asked that is because one of the friends of the show, Jerry Monroe, he does a lot of wrestling figure customizing, but he also does like murder scene, customizing from his cop friends, and that I think that's weird. But like you said, if someone's willing to pay for it and it's a wrestling figure, I mean, it's the past. I mean, you can only learn from the past and just kind of go for it. And what is your take? And I'll just kind of end that comment on your take, Tyler.
I think you guys brought up valid points. I mean, yeah, sure, it's controversial, but if we keep erasing history, then we're not going to ever learn from it. I mean, that's the thing. And with Piper, I don't know enough about it. I think and maybe Brutus could help me with this. We were talking about the Scottish thing a little bit, their culture. Was that not something they did at war, though? Did they paint themselves a little bit, or was this totally something different? Because that was interesting. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they did, using generally the colours of their clan, but
okay.
Roddy Piper's connection with Scotland is not huge. We've all got a background. When I was researching and doing the writing for the book, dealing with race issues was a big thing because essentially, at best, the WWF and most wrestling was implicitly racist, and at worst was explicitly racist, and that was using archetypes rather than stereotypes, and they were angles. And then so I had to be careful not to repeat the mistakes of the past, but acknowledge them. And so choosing the language to use was very careful. So when talking about Tito Santana, for instance, right, and the ego aspect, now to me that doesn't matter, but to Latinos it can be a big issue. So the only time I would say that was in Jesse Ventura's profile, because that was his words. And then, but I finished Tito's his actual man profile, which sits on the right-hand side, with the title of his book, And Don't Call Me Chico. So for me, that was putting the power back into Tito's hands. He's used that again in contemporary times, and it's with him to own that language. But Freddie Blassie was very hard to go back and look at a lot of what he would say about people, and so. The Roddy Piper, I went around and I think I skirted around. I think I called it a very questionable performance, even by his standards, because I'm trying not to judge, but to say that something happened rather than absolutely repeating it. And I know Bad News Brown, I'd read that Bad News Brown wasn't happy with that, but angles were angles. And, I didn't say that the crowd was shouting, at Adrian Adonis all the time, but that was the time. And, if we forget, then we never remember. And remembering's a part of becoming better. And that's what Tyler and Joe were both talking about. So you can not mention something, but if you eliminate something, then how do you ever know that we got it wrong in the past? And we're only in a cycle at the moment, and cycles move in circles. They go back around. And so we have to be careful that we don't go around too far one way, that we end up actually going back around the other. So that's more my sort of philosophical point of view on to deal with it. But we loved it then, and that's it.
Yeah, I think we have to just reevaluate it. I mean, I'm not saying Piper was right. I kind of heard that little Scottish thing, so I didn't know. I mean, that's just something maybe that was thrown out there, so that's why I brought it up. But it definitely didn't age well. But I mean, like you said, if we don't have it to look back on, what you guys were talking about, then how do we correct it? I mean, how do we learn from it?
How do we learn where to draw the line in the sand? And that's a magnificent line there, Tyler. It certainly didn't age well. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely did not age well like Brutus Valentine. He's aged well. He looks amazing. And hey, Zash, before we get out of here tonight, anything you're working on that over on your customs page on the Elite page that our viewers and fans should know about?
I'm working on a bunch of ladies at the moment. I've got Sapphire. I've got Alexa
there's one.
Bliss. I've got Mulla. I've got Richter. I've got Lita. I've got a bunch of ladies I'm working on. So getting all the women done that should have been done a while ago, and putting them in their own little section.
Bliss the other night for a few hours too. So
Because she's something. I've got to work on a
And then we
quote
go back
tonight, so
for
don't worry, I won't be
next
getting any
season.
sleep.
Yep.
Okay?
Well, so you're going to be working on the ladies all night, and your wife's going to be going, hey, what are you doing? I'm
Wait,
doing
she won't
nothing.
know.
I'm doing nothing. I'm not doing anything in my shed. Anyway, but Tyler, what's your take? What you got working on? I know you're writing some columns. You're doing some other stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty much, writing columns for a website called thebuzz.com. Pretty much doing wrestling stories and everything. And then I do also co-host on another podcast called the Rewind Wrestling Radio Podcast. So there's something about Rewind that's, catching on, and it's really neat. We had Just Incredible one week, and they were able to do a show. Unfortunately, there was tornadoes and flooding last week, so I couldn't join them. So they understood, and they're saying, yeah, please be safe, because there was actually some touching down. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it tonight, guys. So, but they had a great show, by the way.
And that's a
are you
great
doing-
show too, Tyler. It's a great show. I watch it all the time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. Hey, this is a great show, and hey, it's great to, thank you guys for allowing me to be on here and making me wiser, so.
And Brother Brutus, I know you're working on another book, the Has book by the great Greenville. How's that going?
it's at proof stage. So the next thing I'll get is a physical proof, and then I'll go through the proof and make some notes. And I have to send it up as fast as possible up to Grenville so he can have a look at it. So we're in like the second last stage. So, and for book 2 is on the way, but these things take a lot of time. So.
Hey, Zash, maybe we'll make it into the to the third book, the LJN podcast, LJN Figures podcast. We'll make it into maybe to the third book. But Joey, I mean, what are you? Do you have any projects that you're working on? And of course, where can people go and see your amazing work and maybe hit you up for a custom?
Well, to the Joey Bags LJN custom Facebook page is the main place. A couple of things I'm working on I can't really talk about because it's for the a couple of different competitions. But my goal for myself and my collection is I basically want to I'm going to work on custom figures probably up to WrestleMania 5. I just want to get everyone up to WrestleMania 5 because was the time that I really spent with my dad watching and going to live events with my brother and my dad. So that's my goal for my collection.
Yeah, I mean that's
nostalgia.
I mean
Yeah,
it's all about nostalgia. I mean it's about living in harping back on a time when things when you were a kid things weren't as hard. I mean you didn't have to worry about things your parents did or whoever you lived with. But next week.
You know what? Before you go, I do have one really cool, quick story I want to tell you guys.
I'd love to hear it.
So this Macho Man right here, it's my original Macho Man. But back in, I can't remember if it was the beginning of 87 or 88, I went to the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island where I lived and was watching Macho Man wrestle. And I brought this wrestler with me, and I was like 8 or 9. My dad was like, "What are you going to do with it?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. He was my favorite wrestler, and I just wanted to bring it with me." And so we were right where the wrestlers enter and enter the ring and come out of the ring. And after Savage's match, I was right there, and I tossed it to him, and he grabbed it, and I said, "That's for you." My dad had said, "Well, what are you going to do with it?" And I said, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, why don't you give it to him?" And I was like, "All right." He's like, "I'll get you another one." So I tossed this Savage to him, and he took 3 steps with it. And then he turned around and he said, "I have plenty of these." And he tossed it back to me. So this Savage right here was
It's
once
been-
in Savage's hands. So this is my pride and joy of my collection right here.
Now there's
I
a
mean,
legacy
great.
story that could be in a book. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I think we know an author who's putting together one. But yeah, I mean, this has been an amazing episode, Joey. Just thanks for coming on. It's,
Yeah, you bet.
it's been amazing. I mean, next week's episode, yeah, it's going to be a good one, isn't it, Zosh? It's
I just my Macho Man autograph. Sorry to cut you off. We're talking Macho Man
nice.
stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that is.
I don't
very
have many autographs. I've only got about, I don't know, 8 or something. But this is one of my pride and joys. Just a bit of a Macho Man autograph.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's but going back to autographs. I mean, the only autograph I have is from Mick Foley, and I met him in 1991 when I was ring announcing in Cobb County, Georgia, at an event. Got a picture with him, got him to sign it, or got him a picture. Didn't get him to sign it. Went to WrestleCon in New York City at WrestleMania 2 years ago. He signed it. He remembered where it was. I mean, it's all about the memories, and that just that just brought back hundreds of memories. But what you show your
Holy
I
fan.
did
I
not-
think it's fantastic.
Oh, he's awesome. I mean, think the way he puts his body on the line through those matches, but they were telling a tremendous story. Yeah.
I'm making a wicked Mick Foley at the moment out of a one-man gang. So keep your eye out for that. It's the Masked Mick Foley.
Nice.
He's normally made out of Captain Lou Albano, but this one's going to be a one-man gang version of him. So something a bit different.
I need a Jack Foley made down the track for his 5 appearances as a jobber, where he does his other hand wave. But that's book 3. But if anyone has any connection into Mick, I'd like to send Mick a book. But it's very hard to get any personal contact with big people. But if anyone has had any dealings with him, that would be good, because I think he loves the history. He's got a great personality, and he's sort of like us in a way. He was the person who shouldn't have been a wrestler, become a wrestler, and then he just became something else altogether that you just went, oh no, what the hell are you doing? And thanks again. I, on behalf of me, who works on the word side, and having Joe on and the customizers, it is great the work that you do, and I love seeing it. I log in and I say, "There's another one," and that sort of stuff. So fantastic, and it's keeping the love alive for a lot of people around the world.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely keeps my interest. But I mean, Zosh, like I was saying before, we have what could potentially be a good show next week. I mean, we have 2 guests on, of course. You want to kind of talk about them, and then we'll take this one to the house.
Next week, who is it? We got
Oh, you know who we have.
Johnny Boxer coming back.
Yeah.
And he's coming on with Cooley's going to be making an appearance, isn't he? Jim Cooley's going to be coming back and having a chat with Johnny Boxer.
Yes, and the great Mike Steyer. Yes, Jim Cooley Crab and Mike Steyer, amazing guy, and then Johnny Boxer.
Steyer's coming on too, is he? Yeah, that's right.
Yes, he's definitely gonna be coming. It's gonna be. We're gonna have a threesome next week.
Big
So
show. Threesome.
Yeah. Hey, how about
Wow.
that? Now that's ratings, pal. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's Vince, man.
hey, let's get a threesome, pal.
There's going to be 6 of us on the screen, all chatting about the love of LJNs.
And playing with wrestling figures.
Yeah.
About
It's
80
gonna
ounces
be-
of hard rubber. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. It's gonna be a great show. But for the great Brutus Valentine, our apprentice, the great Tyler Peters, the great Joey Baggs, I am David Fine, and of course, the great Booker of all Bookers, Zosh Man. We will see you back here, same time, same place. And remember, folks, playing and talking about your figures, it's not that weird. It's actually fun. We'll see you next week.